Hello, everybody. Welcome into Invest Answers TA Tuesdays. Today, we're going to talk about MACD, what it's about, how you use it, and how it can be an important tool, again, in your tool chest. And everything we do here is about math, money, and freedom. Lots of little tricks to help build a better future for you and your loved ones. So today, MACD, we are going to go into everything about MACD, but we're also going to do it under the lens by looking at 5 different assets. We're going to look at QuantumScape due to popular demand, Ethereum, which is in a very interesting stage right now, Snowflake, Facebook, and the TradeDesk, one of my favorites. And disclaimer, as always, this is edutainment. This is not financial advice. Now, remember, as I always say, technical analysis does not predict the future. It's a rear view mirror. It identifies patterns. It's an added tool in your tool chest to make decisions. But remember, it's always a lagging indicator and it's not always perfect. But I find it awesome for affirmation before you get into an actual trade. Now, MACD is Moving Average Convergence Divergence. It's a bit of a mouthful. I like to call it Mac Daddy, just for fun. It's easier to say. And it basically shows the relationship between 2 moving averages, nothing more, nothing less. You've got a 12 period and a 26 period, but there's more. There are only really 3 elements to the MACD. And what's important to know is your buy and your sell signal basically happen when 2 lines cross. So with your 3 elements, you got your 12-day exponential moving average for your MACD. You got your signal line, which is longer, the 26-day exponential moving average, which is often breached by the MACD. It's very important to know that because that's where we get a lot of our information from. And then you've got your histogram. That's the delta between the 2 lines. So that's very good as a visual tool to be able to identify where you need to go. Now, very, very important that you understand the most important thing is the interaction between those 2 lines and nothing else. And the numbers are relative. So you'll see numbers on the scale, but it's not like last week when we looked at RSI, the 70 and 30. This is different. But we can use these numbers if we use trend lines. And again, my very first TA video is all about trend lines. And this one will emphasize the importance of them as well, because when we start analyzing some of the asset classes and companies, we will be using trend lines in combination with MACD. Now, the time frame, very important as well. Best to use MACD for daily time frames. This is not a tool for day traders. This is a tool for medium and long-term investment decisions. When to get in, when to get out, when to go long, when to go short. And that's it. When to find your ranges and how to confirm range riders. And if you want as well, when you look at the daily MACD, you can confirm it by tweaking it to a weekly chart as well to get, more of a time frame as to how things develop over time. So with MACD, it's important to understand your uptrends and downtrends. And MACD works best in trending markets. So trends go up or down. When it's flat and trading sideways, it's less effective. So a bullish sign for MACD line, the long line is above the 0 line. It is bullish. This is the green histogram. And when the MACD line is below the 0 line, it's bearish, red histogram. Real simple. Again, bullish above 0 line, bearish below the 0 line. And I'll show you lots of examples. Now, the crossovers are also very important. When the MACD crosses above the signal line, it's a buy signal, and I'll show you this as well. And when the MACD crosses below the signal line, it's a sell signal. And the final thing as well is bullish divergence and bearish divergence. So sometimes you can have, just like with RSI, you can have a price trend going down and the MACD trend going up. This is a very bullish sign, and this is an early indicator. It can tell you when a market is about to reverse, when the selling is done. And also the bearish divergence is the exact opposite. Your price trend is going up and your MACD trend is going down. That's a time where the market could be at a top. And this will be very important for looking at things like Bitcoin if we do get to that blow off top level. But I'll talk more about the lagging indicator that it is and how we can use it when we look at Ethereum as well. And finally, very important as well, always use your MACD in conjunction with trend lines. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of trend lines today. The charting tools, I use both TradingView and TC2000, but for today, we'll be looking at TradingView. And I had some questions, actually. I use, I think it's TradingView Pro Plus. A lot of people didn't have the same indicators that I typically use. So again, I'm not pushing anything, but just keep that in mind. Now, the charts we're going to look at today are Ethereum, Snowflake, Facebook, QuantumScape, and the TradeDesk. I don't own any Facebook, QuantumScape, but I do have a little TradeDesk and a tiny bit of Snowflake. So just FYI, in full disclosure, but I think they're also very interesting charts to look at for today's purposes. So let's jump in now and look at the actual charts themselves. So hope you are all here with me. I'm going to move myself to the middle. And we're going to start with Ethereum. We can see that Bitcoin had a good day, and so did Ethereum. But a few things I just want to point out here in this particular chart. So first of all, I have the MACD chart below, which is set up, a pretty simple configuration. Here you can see the fast length, which is the MACD line, is a period of 12. The time frame indicator is the same as the chart, which will be a 1 day, which you can see up here. 1 day, very important. And the slow length of 26, that's the signal line. And the signal smoothing is 9. And then the style, you can paint them whatever colors you like. I like a blue MACD line, and I like a red signal line, just like a red traffic light. Know when to stop. And that's why I use those. Now, what I've also done is added a couple of little things. You can see here on Ethereum, I've drawn a trend line, which goes back to December 2020 up until today. And you can see some of the dips here that it picks up. This is the dip on the 28th of February 21, which was a great buying opportunity for those that got some under 1,300. And then the other big dip at 1540, which happened recently. And, you know, if you hear people talk about Ethereum, they'll say, oh, it's the performance has been terrible over the last couple of months, whatever. But if you look at this trend line, it'll tell you a different story. It'll tell you the performance is actually very good. Now, let's see what MACD tells us. And so we look back here. I have a whole bunch of different signals, but let's go to the most recent point in time. This is the 19th of February. This is when, remember, the signal is red and the blue is MACD. MACD is the shorter time frame, and the red signal is the longer time frame. When they cross, that is typically a sell signal. So here you can see right here, they crossed, and it tells you perfectly the sell signal is in play with the downward arrow that I added here, right up here at the top. It was a market top. Now, the corollary is also true. When they cross back again, you can see here the histogram, red, 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 all the way down to the bottom. And then when you see the MACD curving up again, you know you're getting out of the woods, as I like to say, and things are kind of come back to normal. But sometimes the bottom here is the bottom point. That's where sell point. And you can see here as well that on an MACD, we never had a minus 73 going back a full year. So you can't really use these like RSI, but they can be pretty good indicators as to when things are completely oversold. Now, for a MACD buy signal, again, it's when these cross again. And here you have the 7th of March, they crossed, and the price of Ethereum was approximately 1557. So it didn't catch the bottom, but it waited for affirmation. And you can see the histogram. When it goes green, is very important to notify you that, yes, we are out of the woods and things are trending up again and things are positive. Now, that being said, let's go to today. Let's go back first to 20th of March. You can see here the lines crossed again. Again, bear signal. It picked a top at 1840 and it tanked all the way back down to 1550. So this tells you pretty accurately when to get out. So you remember the RSI was brilliant at telling you when to get in. I sometimes find the MACD is better at telling you when to get out. That's why in next week's video, I'm going to talk about RSI and MACD combined together and what a powerful 1-2 punch those two are. So again, as I say, TA is not perfect, But if you understand how they operate and you can use them in unison with each other, it can be very powerful. So getting back to the Ethereum story here, we have yet to see a green appear on the MACD histogram, but that's going to probably happen tomorrow. And once that happens, that technically will coincide with the cross of the lines here, which will be very bullish. Ethereum has already been bullish, but for the MACD to signal that bullishness, that's happening next, and it's probably going to happen tomorrow or tonight, because the beauty of crypto is they trade 24 hours a day. So you can play with these charts all the time. You don't have to wait for the market to open, which is very exciting, but can impact your sleep. Okay, let's go to the second example. This is Snowflake. As you can see here, I've drawn a number of different lines. I've drawn a perfect support line, and you've heard me talk about IPOs before. It's sometimes not a good idea to buy an IPO. And sometimes if you're patient, you can get a better deal. So post-IPO, there's always a post-IPO dip where the insiders sell within 5 to 10 days or 2 weeks after the IPO date. And there's a dip. And then it goes up, 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 up. And then it crashes down again. But what's very interesting about this chart is this extremely strong support line here, where Snowflake is about, call it $210. Extremely strong support. And that's why I've drawn this line. Now, also the trend line is down. So I'm going to talk a bit about what I mentioned in the slide deck, bullish divergence. That's when the trending of the price is down and the trending of the MACD is up, as you can see down here, which is super interesting. So let's look at his historical chart here. So the crossover happened here, which was this was a buy signal, sell signal. Not bad, considering it actually went up a little bit after the sell signal, but again, it's more of a medium-term indicator. Another buy signal down here, and then a sell signal after it dipped a little bit. You would have made a little bit of money. And then finally, right down, the next time we meet at this line here, this is the next buy signal that just happened, and the histogram had turned green. And what's also important to note is the MACD is working in conjunction with the support line. So we are bouncing off of support for Snowflake at around the $205, $210 mark. So that would be, according to TA, a good indicator. Now, and next week, we'll look at RSI and how it works in conjunction. But again, not a bad place to enter per MACD. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about Facebook. So here is the opposite to Snowflake. We're going to talk about bearish divergence, and I'll show you why. I'm going to move my little picture out of the way so I can show you the full chart. So as usual, I have two trend lines here. This one would be Facebook support at around, call it $245. And then at the top here, Facebook resistance around $295 to $300. And then we have the short-term trend line here of support. Now, what's happening as well is if you look at the MACD, it's downtrending a little bit. So you got the price trending up, the MACD trending down, which tells you what? Bearish signal. So if Facebook fails to break through that $300 resistance at the top, you know what that all means, don't you? If you're listening to me, that means we probably will take a dip. And if you are considering a short on Facebook, of course, not investment advice, you would place a stop limit order to get out of your trade above that $300 level. Anyway, that is Facebook. Also, what it tells you here is these little arrows that I have at the bottom. When the lines cross, again, buy signal, very good. Buy signal, very good. Buy signal, very good. In this particular chart, the MACD is a very, very good buy signal indicator. Again, when those lines cross, which also coincides with the green histogram changing. Green histogram, buy. Green histogram, buy. Green histogram, buy. Okay. Now, let's look at QuantumScape. A lot of people are interested in this company because they think it's an EV play. They make batteries for electric vehicles. And this was a very volatile stock. Some EV specialists came out and kind of pumped it, and it did skyrocket, as with the whole EV world in December. And it shot up from $15 all the way up to, I think it was $130, $140. and then it came crashing back down. But what is interesting again to note about this is the trend line. I drew support line here, and it seems to have solid support at this $44, $43 level. Very interesting to look at. And again, we're going to look at MACD in unison with this support line. Now, here we have the MACD cross, buy signal, boom, histogram turning green, boom, check, and off of support, check. Three simple factors telling us a good time to maybe enter. And then we have the crossover, sell signal. It happened a bit late, so you wouldn't have gotten out right at the top, but it would have told you, get out. And then turns green again. Boom, again, you missed the bottom, but it's a safe way of entering. And then again, same thing. If you had used the buy and sell signals using this, they were good half the time for the entry side, but not for the exit side. And that's why you need to look at, again, your trend lines, your support, your resistance, and your RSI to make better decisions. Now, what I'm saying here regarding QuantumScape is we haven't turned green yet, but we are at support. So you could wait for this to uptick here in the MACD for that to start going upwards and green. And then you know it's time is going to bounce back up. And QuantumScape could go from 43 back up to $68, $70, which is a nice little range rider, which can be beautiful to play as well. Up, down, up, down, up, down, like a snake all day long. Very nice. The final one we're going to look at today is the TradeDesk. So TradeDesk is a favorite of mine, and it was going beautifully in this channel. You can see painted here until the mini correction happened. And it fell out of its range. So now I've drawn a secondary support line, which is the green line here. And you can see I picked up the bottom as of, I think it was September, 17th of September, 2020. It wicked down on the 5th of March, like everything else did, but it bounced back very nicely. But then it's fallen down again. So this could put in a beautiful double bottom. But let's look at what MACD is telling us. So this MACD here, flipping green, again, a nice buy signal. I'll move my image out of the way so you can see the full performance. It went zipped all the way up from around 550 up to 820. And then it kind of languished a little bit, hovered, went up the channel, and then it crashed. But notice here, you didn't get the MACD sell signal, which is different. The lines kind of crossed, you could say early, but it went up after that sell signal actually went into play, which would have been here. And again, this chart, this tool works better with entrance signals than sell signals, just like the previous one. Anyway, here we are, Feb, entry, good. Exit, a little bit late. You could have got caught in that downdraft if you were in and it opened, gapped down at the market open the next day. And then the entry right now, what we're looking for TradeDesk, again, I think it's a very good long-term hold. And I'd be looking to perhaps make a little entry here, but I'm going to wait for my RSI and it to bounce off the strong support level here, which I've drawn, and for this MACD to turn green. So that's all we have from the charts we've looked at today. Again, it was Ethereum, Snowflake, Facebook, QuantumScape, and the TradeDesk. Let's jump back into our presentation. So back to our conclusion. So the pros and cons of MACD. It works best in strong trending markets. It shows overbought and oversold conditions with a little bit of a time lag, which can be a safety signal to confirm the actual movement and direction of the stock. Again, it's great for affirming entry signals. If you're not sure, it can be very good for those. For some stocks, it works very well at identifying tops. For others, it works well at identifying bottoms. And that's why it's important to zoom out. Remember I said at the beginning, sometimes look at the weekly chart to confirm the daily chart. And that'll give you a lot of historical information and signals, and also in terms of using the numbers to identify bottoms. You can even draw trend lines within the MACD indicators from history, going back years if you like. And again, tune in for RSI MACD next week. And that's an important one. But please always beware, MACD is a lagging indicator, and don't trade on it alone. There are some people out there, and YouTube will say, well, you can just make a ton of money just trading MACD. It's like, no, it's a crapshoot. You need other tools. You need macro information, news information, earnings reports, RSI, and a whole bunch of other stuff in your trend lines to be able to identify if it's a good indicator or not. Again, don't use it as a standalone tool. In terms of future videos, some of the stuff we have coming next week, RSI and MACD, and the full agenda of all the stuff we're going to look at: breakouts, gaps, momentums, timeframes, VPSV, stochastics, Bollinger Bands, candlesticks, Fibonacci retracements. I know a lot of you are looking for Fibonacci. So that's it. So if you like this, hit the like. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves. Bye.